She looked me in the eye and told me I wasn't family. She told me I wasn't a real friend. And then, she told me not to show up to her graduation. This was the exact person whose college tuition I had paid in full just 3 days prior. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I simply walked away. But what she didn't realize was that some debts are not paid in cash. They are paid in consequences. When I first met Madison, she was drowning. She was working 2 dead-end jobs, barely scraping by, and constantly on the verge of quitting college. I was the stable one, managing supply chains for a local logistics firm. It wasn't a glamorous life, but it was steady. At first, my help was small. A textbook here, a utility bill there. But then her roommate moved out, and the panic set in. She promised she would pay me back the moment she graduated and secured a real job. I believed her because I loved her. Then came the day she broke down on the phone, sobbing that she couldn't afford next semester's tuition. I went to the bank and wired the funds immediately. She called me her savior. But looking back, I wasn't her savior. I was just a convenient bridge to a life she wanted to build without me. As her final year approached, the girl I knew began to fade. She started speaking differently, dressing differently, and collecting friends who made her feel important. Suddenly, my quiet logistics job wasn't something she was proud of anymore. It was an embarrassment. The shift became undeniable during a dinner with her new classmates. They talked about international internships and corporate ladders. When they asked what I did, I told them the truth. Madison laughed quickly, cutting me off to say I was just the practical one who kept her grounded. It felt like a slap. On the drive home, she told me I simply didn't understand the pressure she was under. But the real test was yet to come. 1 week before graduation, I had a suit tailored and bought her a small, engraved silver bracelet. Then the phone call came. Her voice was cold, rehearsed, and utterly detached. She told me it wasn't a good idea for me to attend the ceremony. She said the event was strictly for family and real friends. She didn't want to explain to her high society peers that her boyfriend was a regular working-class guy who funded her lifestyle. I sat in my car, listening to the dial tone. And in that moment, a strange calmness washed over me. I didn't demand my money back. I didn't expose her on social media. I just quietly went to her apartment, packed my things, and erased myself from her life. On the day of her graduation, I went to work. While she was posting pictures online with the caption, "I did it all on my own," I was updating spreadsheets. I didn't like the photo, and I didn't comment. I simply let her live her lie. But lies have a fragile foundation, and hers was about to cave in. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. It was Madison's mother. She sounded incredibly strained, almost physically sick. She thanked me for paying Madison's tuition, rent, and bills. I remained completely silent, letting her speak. She explained that the family had just discovered the truth. Madison had told them she was on a full academic scholarship. She had pocketed the money her parents sent her for living expenses while letting me fund her entire life. Now, her father was furious, refusing to speak to her. But the nightmare was only starting for Madison. Her polished social media feed quickly became a battleground as rumors spread through her university circle. One of her classmates, who knew about my financial support, posted the truth under her graduation photos. The comment received hundreds of likes. The illusion of the self-made, independent woman vanished overnight. Then, the text messages started coming to my phone. At first, she begged for forgiveness. She told me her parents hated her friends were abandoning her, and she needed me to help clear her name. When I didn't reply, her desperation turned into pure rage. She accused me of ruining her life and making her look like a gold digger. I blocked her number. I didn't need to fight her, because she was already destroying herself. Soon, the consequences reached her career. The corporate job offer she boasted about was suddenly rescinded after a routine background check flagged discrepancies in her financial declarations. She was forced to move back in with her parents, stripped of the status she had sacrificed our relationship to obtain. Her father actually called me himself. He apologized for his daughter's behavior and admitted he was deeply embarrassed. I told him I harbored no ill will, but I was done. A week later, a thick, handwritten letter arrived in my mailbox. It was 4 pages of excuses, tears, and rationalizations. But one line at the end caught my eye. I looked for you in the crowd, and you weren't there. I folded the letter up and placed it in a desk drawer. I didn't go because she told me I wasn't welcome. That wasn't my burden to carry anymore. I recently took the vacation we had always planned to take together. I went to Seattle, walked along the coast, and looked out at the deep, quiet water. I realized that peace isn't something you can buy. It is simply the absence of people who make you feel like you're not enough. She wanted a graduation without me. And in the end, she got exactly what she asked for. A life entirely empty of the one person who actually cared.